Orange Man bad? Or was it Orange Man good? Let's go, Brandon. Jobi-Wan Kenobi? I don't even remember anymore. I need a nap. Let's dream together a little. Remember when humans were capable of holding a disagreement without treating it like a divine declaration of war? Where politics wasn't reduced to team sports and people didn't hurl themselves headfirst into the digital meat grinder over arguments that boiled down to, my cult's hat is prettier than your cult's hat. No? Me neither. Instead, we've collectively agreed to leave sanity at the door, sharpen our pitchforks, and set fire to anything that looks remotely like middle ground. People spend more time tearing into each other than addressing the fact that their democracy has been slowly dissolving into a glorified reality show. Forget balance. Forget nuance. We traded in those old ideals for clickbait headlines and echo chambers. It's not just the politicians who sold us out. The audience ate it up like it was a new Netflix series with no chill button. At some point, this stopped being about electing leaders and became a full-blown cult of personality pageant. Red hats, blue ties, and a whole lot of people frothing at the mouth over which side was the real harbinger of societal doom. Spoiler, it's both. The two-party system used to at least pretend it was about checks and balances, but now it's just a blood sport with the soundtrack of screaming eagles and ironic TikToks. Rather than engaging in the messy human act of extending a hand to someone with a differing opinion, people decided it was easier to demonize anyone who didn't perfectly parrot their worldview. Why talk when you can block? Why compromise when you can just scream louder? It's not enough to disagree anymore. You can't just say, hey, I see it differently. No, now you have to whip out your torch and pitchfork. We've achieved the political equivalent of toddlers fighting over crayons, except the crayons are on fire, and the toddlers have nukes. The world's largest public square has regressed into a gladiatorial arena where everyone's armed with 280 characters of fury. You used to have debates, actual conversations. Now, someone disagrees, and it's straight to the block button or a full-blown public shaming campaign. Who needs civil discourse? No need to read, no reason to reflect? When you can slap a label on someone. Racist, communist, sheep, fascist, pick your poison, and call it a day? It's not just lazy, it's corrosive. TikTok attention spans leaking into your ability to hold discourse. And let's not forget the rise of cancel culture, where a single offhanded comment from 2009 is enough to send you straight to the digital gallows. Forget the fact that people used to say dumb things before the internet was keeping score. We're in the age of receipts now, baby. Growth? Doesn't matter. Learning? Who cares? You could have solved world hunger yesterday, but if someone finds an old Facebook post where you once ranked Die Hard below love, actually, congratulations, you're officially worse than a war criminal. And let's not pretend the rules are fair. The criteria for who gets roasted and who gets a pass are about as consistent as your uncle's drunk Thanksgiving political rants. You're either the golden child or today's sacrificial lamb, and God help you if you trip on the shifting sands of moral absolutism. There's no room for humanity in this game. No, hey, people change, or let's hear the context. Nah, it's all about the blood sport now. The crowd gathers, the tweets fly, and suddenly everyone's a moral authority with the memory of a goldfish. The same people screaming for justice today will be crying foul tomorrow when the mob turns on them. It's like some twisted Ouroboros of outrage, where no one's safe and everyone's too busy sharpening their pitchforks to notice they're next in line. Compromise isn't just dead. It's buried 6 feet under with a stake through its heart and a TikTok dance mocking its demise. Meanwhile, the divide is more of a chasm at this point, but who cares about building bridges? It's way more fun to stand on your side of the canyon and scream about how the other side is full of unwashed goblins while occasionally lobbing a tweet grenade for good measure. The election cycles of recent years weren't about policies. They were about personality cults cranked up to 11. On one side, you had people who genuinely believed Trump was the second coming of Reagan, sent here to drain the swamp and make America great again. On the other, he was painted as a blundering orange dictator, more cartoon villain than human being. Biden wasn't spared either. Depending on your corner of the internet, he was either the wise elder statesman sent to save democracy or a senile puppet bumbling through a teleprompter. You couldn't point out a single flaw in your team's leader without being crucified by your own side. Forget honesty or accountability. Everyone was too busy shouting, "Not my guy," or "Our guy's perfect," to realize that no one in power ever is. And while we turned politics into a WWE smackdown, the people in power sat back and laughed. Why wouldn't they? They didn't need to fix anything or answer for their failures. Every second we spent calling someone a libtard or a MAGA cultist was another second they weren't being held accountable. Divide and conquer isn't just a strategy. It's a subscription service we're all paying for, one tweet and one comment section at a time. They've monetized our rage and we signed up with auto-renew. But maybe, just maybe, it doesn't have to be this way. What if we all just sat down for a second, unclenched our fists, and admitted that we've been played? That the neighbor with the sign you hate isn't some cartoon villain, but a human being who's probably just as frustrated as you are? What if we stopped letting ourselves get roped into this endless fight over which flavor of snake oil is best, and actually remembered that this whole thing, this country, this democracy, whatever's left of it, is supposed to belong to all of us? The fire's raging, but fire doesn't last forever if enough people show up with buckets of water instead of kerosene. And that's the thing, isn't it? We don't have to solve everything overnight. And we don't have to agree on every little thing to start putting the pieces back together. It can start small, like not assuming the worst about the person who sees the world differently, or even daring to listen without waiting for your turn to yell. It's not about fixing every problem in one grand gesture, but about realizing that the people next to you, the ones you think you're supposed to hate, aren't the problem. They're the solution. They're your allies in a system that wants you divided, distracted, and too angry to see the bigger picture. Whether you consider today the day the world starts burning, or you're holding out hope that this is when the potholes finally get filled, the truth stays the same. The only way forward is through each other. Not through shouting louder or drawing harder lines in the sand, but by stepping into the messy, uncomfortable space where we stop seeing each other as enemies. That's where the real work happens. Not in agreement, but in understanding. Not in finding the perfect leader, but in remembering that the power has always been in our hands, not theirs. Because the fire doesn't care who you voted for, and the potholes don't check party affiliations. If we don't start finding ways to work together, to trust, even a little, and to rebuild what's been broken, then we're just handing the people at the top exactly what they want. A distracted, divided crowd too busy fighting each other to notice the walls crumbling around them. The truth is, we're all we've got. And if we can't see that, then maybe the fire's already won. I don't want to set the world on fire. I just want to set a flame in your heart. Ooh,